Hey guys, today we'll make some pasta. Even though I have a pasta rolling machine, you can hand roll it, which is what I did when I was learning how to do this, which is good to do because it gives you, it kind of lets you understand how to control your dough and how to flour it and everything, but I'm just gonna show you the quick and easy way, so let's do it. For the pasta, I'm going to start with 2 cups or 300 grams of all-purpose flour in a small bowl and add a pinch of salt and mix it through with my hands and set it aside. Next is the eggs. I'll be using 2 eggs and 6 egg yolks, so 8 eggs in total. To do it, I crack 6 eggs in a small bowl, then crack 2 eggs into a larger bowl. I like to use my hands to pick out the egg yolks from the egg whites. I find this to be the easiest way to separate the egg yolks, but you do it how you like to do it. Once I have our 2 eggs and 6 egg yolks combined, I'll be adding 1 tablespoon of olive oil into the eggs and give it a whisk. Next, I dump the flour onto my working surface and create a large enough hole in the middle of the flour for the egg mix. I try to make it a bit bigger than what I initially think I might need, just to be safe. Next, I pour the egg mix in my hole I made in my flour. I slowly start to incorporate the egg mix and flour with a fork. The key is to do this a little bit at a time to prevent too much clumping. Once most of the liquid is mixed with the flour, I'll clean my fork and switch to using my hands. This is probably the trickiest step since it can get sticky and messy fast. Also, I don't want to use too much extra flour because I don't want my dough ball to be too stiff, making it too hard to knead the dough. I even use my bench scraper a little bit to help me loosen some bits off my work surface. From here, I just keep working, kneading and incorporating the dough ball into a smooth dough ball. Make sure to knead for at least 10 minutes. I usually go for 12 minutes or so. Once my dough ball is silky smooth, I wrap it up in saran wrap and place it on a kitchen towel for an hour to help the dough rest and relax, which will help with the next step. After whipping out my dough pass Italian marcato pasta rolling machine that I purchased on Amazon, it's time to clamp it to the countertop to prevent it from moving around on me. Once the dough has rested, I'll split it into 8 pieces using 4 uniform cuts with my bench scraper. Make sure to save your saran wrap for later. I don't care too much if my pieces are not uniform. From here, I'll take 1 piece of dough and set the rest aside, making sure to cover them with the saran wrap from before to prevent the rest of the dough from drying out while I'm working on rolling and cutting the pasta dough. The basics to rolling out the pasta dough are as follows. I shape the triangle shaped dough into a smooth sphere with my hands. Always make sure the dough is sufficiently floured, otherwise it might rip during rolling. Next, I flatten the sphere shape into a flat round shape to make it easier to feed into the machine. Again, ensure there's enough flour on the pasta dough before every rolling and cutting cycle. Obviously, I always start on the lowest setting, which in my case is indicated by the number 0. After the first roll on the 0 setting, I almost always apply more flour on both sides of the pasta dough and run it through the same setting again. If you run your hands across a stretched piece of dough, you won't feel any flour, but instead a smooth, almost sticky texture. That's when the dough is prone to ripping. Every time I step up the rolling setting to a thinner setting, I always make sure that there's enough flour on both sides of the pasta dough. I keep rolling the dough thinner and thinner. I used to roll it out to the setting of 6, but once I've tried the setting of 5, I realized that I like a bit of thickness to my pasta because of the extra but not too much chewiness. So, before I get into cutting the pasta into its shape, I again make sure there's enough flour on the dough. Always ensure that the dough is getting fed into either the roller or cutter smoothly and is as centered as possible to prevent the edges from rolling up onto themselves. Once my pasta noodles get cut into shape, I place them on my working surface, lightly flour them, and give them a toss before setting them aside. Once I've made about half the noodles, I get a small baking tray, line it with parchment paper to prevent sticking, and place my pasta servings in the tray, making sure they're spaced out. In the freezer they go. They keep the freshest if frozen. Once they're fully frozen, and I transfer the individual frozen pasta portions into a large Ziploc bag and store it in the freezer for whenever I need pasta. When I need pasta, I boil a pot of water with a decent amount of salt and only cook the frozen pasta for 45 seconds to a minute. Homemade pasta cooks really fast and tastes way different than store-bought pasta. So give it a try if you dare, you won't regret it.